Hello, Ben. Wonderful to see you. Okay, so how was your week last week? Was it okay? Okay, it was mostly good. You had mostly a good week. Wonderful. Okay, except that a couple clients relapsed. That must have been difficult for you. I understand. So, we're just going to go through a quick agenda of our day, of our session today. So, we're going to start with a brief review of the events of the past week. So it sounds like you had some difficulty because some of the clients relapsed. Interesting. So you felt like you learned something from their relapse. You felt like you had some insight into your own relapse and how it might have appeared from outside, from someone else's point of view. That's really insightful. Wonderful. That's really something to gain from it. Good for you. Um, Last session, we talked a lot about some of the reservations that you had, some of the feelings that you had about that you wanted to maybe continue substance use, but maybe on a more recreational level, and you're struggling with that a little bit. So, how did that go? Interesting. So, actually seeing someone uh, after they gotten high and that they relapsed um, inspired you to want to quit entirely. Well, that's really interesting. Wonderful. So, that's really good to know about yourself. Um, what would you say your current mood is right now? So one of the things on our agenda is to address your current mood on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 being, I feel fantastic, I'm top of the world, and 1 is like right down at the dumps. So whereabouts are you today? All right, so you're about a 7. Okay, that's not bad. It sounds to me like you're feeling a little bit better. Things are getting a little bit better for you. That's wonderful. Good. Okay, and the main topic of discussion today. Well, it seems like it's relapse prevention, isn't it? That's the topic that we're on. And you seem really interested in it. So let's just go into that a little bit more. That sounds good. Your homework we can discuss from last time. Last time you were doing a journal and you were trying to record the thoughts that preceded the emotions that you had. So certainly we all feel things. Sometimes it's good to know what thoughts preceded that emotion. So you did journal those. Wonderful, good. And you noticed that your thoughts tend to influence your emotions. And that's exactly what I was hoping you might. Good, wonderful. Okay, and feedback from, okay, homework for next week. I was thinking that we'll do the relapse prevention homework. So there's something called urge surfing that I thought you might be interested in. So we'll go over that for sure. And finally, feedback. So whatever you think is working for you is what we're going to work on. And if you think that something's really not working for you, we don't have to do it. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for your time today. Now, this is a review of the video by Dr. Todd Grande. And I have to say, it really did hit all the points, most of the points anyway. So he started out by asking how she was. He didn't ask for any kind of form of measurement, so nothing that was descriptive as like a scale, for example, of how she felt. So like a scale of 1 to 10, for example, would be a form of measurement, or perhaps you can use descriptive colors to describe mood. He didn't do that. So, but he did do a brief review of past events of the week, and he did create a bridge to the last session. So he talked about the last session and what she was struggling with at that time and created a bridge to now. He did talk about some of the homework that she had completed. And what I found most interesting was when they were choosing the main topic, he allowed the client to choose, and he did so by getting her to prioritize the different things that were going on in her life, which can be really difficult for people sometimes. when life feels really chaotic, it's hard to know what event to tackle first, or what problem to tackle first. And in his case, he said to what is causing you the most distress, basically. So the item on the agenda will be the thing that's causing her the most distress, and that is number one on the agenda. If he has a little bit more time, he plans to go over some of the other things as well. Um, so he explained why he prioritized as well. So that was really useful. Just explaining that, that way we have time. We can go over the things that matter most and that affect her the most. Then he discussed homework for the next week, and what that might involve. And the way that he asked for feedback was, does that sound like a good agenda? Does it sound like a good plan? And that seemed like a really great way to get feedback. So I thought it was generally a really excellent video. Okay, so the second video that we had was by Qualia Counseling Services. And he started out the video initially by bridging. So he talked about bridging and why we do it. And he explained how it can bring, topics from the previous session that they'd had, and that we bring those forward into our current session. We review the last session. So he is talking about reviewing the last session as well, and what they did at that time. He did use a scale for mood. So he talked about how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And his client said at that point, he said a 6. What I also thought was interesting was that he asked, how did you feel all week? And the client said that he'd felt about a 5. Now he took that number 5 instead of the 6 and used that as a reference point. So in general, as an average, he's feeling more of a 5, not so good. He did ask him if this mood was better or worse than before. And the client did mention that it was better than it had been in the past. So that was a plus. And he asked him how his last session had gone. So feedback. And the client said that it had gone well. And he chose a focus topic. So he focused on low points. He asked the client for feedback for adding that to the agenda. And the focus on low points was became the agenda that they chose. But it was with the client's participation, which is good. And the client actually brought up homework, so that was interesting. But he said that behavioral activation, creating an agenda or a schedule for the week, and actions rather than actual like written homework was going to be the homework of the week to come. So that was the focus for the homework. So in general, I thought he went through everything really and did quite a good job on all the topics. Let me think. The only one, no, I think he also asked for feedback, and it was just at a different time than what I was accustomed to. So honestly, it seemed like he covered all the topics that he needed to. So, okay, what are some common difficulties for new counselors when creating an agenda with their clients? Some really consistent ones for me were, for example, I would get sidetracked from my agenda. So a lot of folks tend to ramble. They get very excited. They have sometimes, how do I put it, not a very organized way of thinking. And it's very easy to get sidetracked off of the agenda items that you've proposed. So some ways of dealing with that would be to say, looks like we're going off target. Um, let's reprioritize. Are there these maybe are the things that you'd prefer to talk about? And we can talk about those things that we put on our agenda another time and see if that's what they actually want to do, because they may have also gotten sidetracked and they might want to actually stick to the agenda themselves.
Number two, the client consistently reports the same mood, same situation, um, every time that you have a meeting with them. So they might just keep going over the same stuff, and you're not getting a lot of variation. So in this case, maybe find out if they're holding back. Maybe there's some nervousness involved. Maybe they just don't feel that comfortable. Um, Try to break through and just see if it's discomfort that's holding them back, that they're just feeling a little bit too anxious, possibly in that situation. Number three, client brings too much to the agenda. So that would be the opposite of the client who reports the same mood. The client brings too many things. There's too many items that they want to cover. In this case, we would have to prioritize. We just have to say, of those items, which is the thing that is most affecting you? Um, which of those difficult situations is causing the most anxiety and stress in your life at this time? And let's focus on that first. So, thanks.